Caleb with Brownells here, and in today's From the Vault, we're going to be talking about the ultimate HK416 clone, and that is the Brownells BRN-4. So this firearm right here, this is my BRN-4. It's actually the one I used in last year's Gunfighter Gauntlet, but I made a ton of changes to it. As you can see, it's definitely unrecognizable. The only thing I kept from it was the upper-lower receiver and the barrel. That's pretty much it. So let's kind of go over what's new about this particular gun and just kind of why this gun is so awesome, right? And we'll start that at the buttstock. So we'll take it off here. All right, and this is the B5 stock. This is one of their basic B5 stocks without the storage, just because I carry batteries and candy in my pockets instead. So I didn't need the extra storage space, but I still like that cheek weld that those storage compartments provided. Fortunately, this one actually has a wider cheek portion here, so you get a nice good purchase on the gun itself, which is great. Something I really like. Okay, moving on from there. That is sitting the buffer tube or receiver extension. That's a BCM Mark II recoil mitigation system, which is a A5 length buffer system is what it is, right? So that, and then I have a H2, I think a 2. We'll bust it open in a little while and we'll go over the insides. But I'm using the A5 castle nut from Forward Controls Design. So it's basically a standard castle nut except a little bit longer to take up that extra space on your A5 length tubes. And then that is sitting... I'll pull this, there we go. And that's sitting on an Aveski end plate for a QD mount. And I really don't ever use these QD sockets here, but if the end plate has one, why not? It doesn't really add any extra weight to the gun, so I just have it on there as an option. And then, of course, a nice, clean stake job right on top of that castle nut, because you should always stake your castle nuts. Alright, and then from there, moving on, we have an arms flip up rear sight, just in case, some kind of failure, whatever, I can pull this Geissele mount off and then run irons. And I'll get on to the front sight in a little bit, we'll talk about that some. But with that Geissele mount, we are running a Nightforce NX8, they're 1:8 LPVO. Which will do anything I need it to do for what I'm using it for. So that works great. And then dropping down from there, of course the upper receiver is in fact the Brownells BRN-4 upper receiver, because you can't use standard AR receivers because this is a HK416 operating system, so it has to be this particular upper receiver, which is great. This upper receiver is perfectly fine and definitely gets the job done. And I'm gonna pick this up again. We'll talk about the charging handle. So this one right here, I'm running a Geissele charging handle. And just to kind of cover all my bases here, I got a Geissele mount. I'm running a Geissele handguard specifically for 416. And then the Geissele charging handle, which it takes any AR-15 charging handle, which is super convenient. And the other Geissele component we have in here is the trigger. So this trigger is the SSA EX Lightning Bow, which I think personally is the best trigger for any AR-15 style firearm on the market, hands down. It'll run circles around anything. And then the selector lever, we're running again, we're back to Forward Controls Design. I was kind of torn between going with the short throw or the full 90. I just went with the full 90 because I'm going to be running this gun with a lot of gear on, and I don't want anything moving where it shouldn't be moving. Not that I've ever had that happen, it's just like something in my brain told me like, hey, you should just run the 90, so that's what I'm doing. I don't know. We'll get over it. Moving on from there, we have our Forward Controls bolt catch with dimples because dimples are cuter. And then from there, I'm gonna pick this thing up again. All right, I'm just gonna get this out. We're just gonna use the table. We'll get this out the way here. All right, and then the opposite side. So this lower receiver is actually the forward controls design collab they did with Sons of Liberty Gunworks. So it is machined by Sons of Liberty Gunworks. And then it also has ambidextrous controls on it. So we have our ambi bolt catch, and then we have our magazine catch here. Again, dimpled because dimples are cuter. That's right, you're catching on. All right, and then, yeah, so the actual takedown pins, I think these are I went with Battle Arms development takedown pins, just because I like the way they look. And yeah, there's really no other reason. The door cover, let me actually deploy this sling here, and we'll talk about the door cover. So this guy here, again, this one's made out of aluminum. Forward control design, double dimple. I'm not going to say it again, because you know about dimples at this point. And then from here, we can move down to the grip. So the grip I'm using, the dye-free company Kung Fu grip, because it's awesome. And then I'm using the plug with it here. The plug just turns it into storage compartment, and then adds a little extra piece on the back, which feels good, especially when you're running a heavier gun. And this is definitely a heavier gun. And I think we covered everything on the back end of this firearm, except for the magazine. We'll do the magazine last. So let's kind of jump forward here a little bit. So this is the Geissele handguard. This one is in fact for BRN-4s or HK416s. You can't use AR-15 handguards on these. It is what it is, and honestly, this one has all the features I want and need, so I don't really, that doesn't really bother me much. And then I'm running a Sons of Liberty Gunworks offset QD sling adapter here. It just puts a little bit of a downward angle to it, just to kind of get that sling out of the way a little bit more with that QD socket. And then the sling I'm using, this is the Edgar Sherman design. I go back and forth all the time on what slings I use. I have different slings on different guns. I have favorite slings, and this is one of those favorite slings. We're using the forward controls design G10 grip panels, just because, again, listen, there's a lot of dimples on this gun. You're not going to make me say it every single time. All right, so there's more dimples there. Dye-free. This is the Tiger Claw, which is a forward grip there, which I have to create this index point for my hand, which I'll show you in a little bit. And then in front of that, we have the dye-free company Full Stop. So 3 products, or technically 4 dye-free products here: Kung Fu grip, plug, Tiger Claw, and Full Stop. So the Full Stop is a barricade. You can use it in multiple ways. You don't have to use it how I have it set up here. It's for, you know, whatever fits your need. But it is made out of billet aluminum. It's nice. It's a very solid piece of equipment. And then the front of it, let me turn this here. The front of it is textured, so it's made to be ran up against a barricade. So whenever you're using this thing here, you can lean into a barricade and just put your weight into it and stabilize the gun that way. And those are really handy. And then I cut a piece of Daniel Defense rail cover, because Geissele has rail on the bottom here, 1913. And I just have this on there to kind of protect that rail a little bit whenever I'm slamming it up against barricades. And if this gets lost, I don't care, right? Because it's just a inexpensive piece of rubber that I got out of my spare parts bin. So that's nothing there. And I guess we'll just kind of turn it around here. So the laser aiming module we're using here, this is a Steiner DBAL. So this is one of my favorites. Very good. It works great. It's solid. Attached to that, so it has, well, I'll tell you a little bit about it, I guess. So it has visible laser, IR laser, and IR illuminator. And then with that, we're also running a SureFire light. This is a Scout light, but this is the one that has IR or visible light. So if I just want to run full IR, like if I'm running like night vision or something, and then I want to project even more of that IR illumination, I can just make sure, of course, my head is on the right setting. And then now I'm running full IR on everything, so I don't have to worry about accidentally throwing any white light. And then tied to both of those, I have a Unity Axon switch. So this switch right here, 2 buttons in the back, right behind my main selector buttons here, and I can control everything up front with my thumb right here. Or technically, since I'm a lefty, I can control it all by modifying my grip a little bit and then getting in there. Okay, so in the front, I have a Magpul Imbus Pro left in the up position, and I leave it flipped up because it lets me get my D-ball really far forward, and the top of this doesn't stick up any higher than anything else, so it's not an inconvenient way to do it. And people on the internet often say, because they're people on the internet, they say, well, whenever you need to change your battery, are you going to lose 0 on your iron sight or on your D-ball? And I say neither, because as long as you unhook your D-ball and you put it back in the same rail slot, and here's the important part, when you do that, push forward as far as you can when you lock down, and I've never had any loss of 0 issues. So take that, internet. Okay, so let me pull off the suppressor here. So this is a 14.5-inch chrome line barrel. This is the heavyweight version. Yes, it is heavy. You can save weight by switching to a lighter weight version, but I didn't want to do that. I'd rather just do some extra curls or something. So this is the Sons of Liberty Gunworks Nox Mini with a sexy coating on it. And then this is the, yeah, this way, righty loosey, lefty tighty, because it's reverse threads for Xeno. Okay, and then this is the Dead Air Sierra 5, one of my favorite suppressors on the market right now. So obviously that's what we're using. And then I promised we would take a look under the hood a little bit. So nothing too crazy there. Let me just open her up. So the bolt carrier group I'm using, this is an upgraded version. So this is the chrome lined phosphate finish bolt carrier group, which is available, of course, at Brownells. The standard one that we were making with the BRN-4s a while back were nitrided. These were requested. Then we started making them, and now that's what I use. And then that buffer in there, it is the T2, so the equivalent of like an H2. T is for tungsten. So T2 buffer, I know you can't see it, you're not missing anything, it just says T2 on the face of it. Alright, and that pretty much covers the gun itself. I don't think I missed anything. If I did, make fun of me in the comments for it. Also, magazine. So I am running, this is a Magpul T-Mag, and then this is the Magpod on the bottom, which fits the Gen 3 P-Mags, which the T-Mag takes Gen 3 base plate, so it fits on here just fine. And then on the back, I'm running a Multitasker Nano, which is just a little tool I can use to adjust optics and things like that. This tool gets a little awkward sometimes because whenever you're at the range and like you're shooting with other dudes and they forgot all of their stuff and you're fixing their stuff, then you have to explain to their wives or girlfriends that you're happily married and you don't want anything to do with them, because this is good for stealing chicks, I guess. So you single guys out there will probably have good luck with that. But that's not a feature I personally need on it. So, with that being said, that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you want to just make fun of the colors because they don't match, leave them in the comments down below. Also, I forgot to mention, so I'll mention it right here. I did paint both the upper and receiver Magpul Stealth Gray with gun coat. So these are both painted with gun coat. Alright, now, as always, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. If you need help for any reason with anything ever, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.